Yeah. Hey, everybody. We want to welcome you to Heart with Dan and Angela.
Hi, everyone.
And we're just doing our little Sunday talk that we do. And I was thinking about this. I was looking around and I was watching all the people that were graduating. You know what I mean? It's kind of graduation time, and it's kind of a beautiful thing. You're watching these kids drive by and they're cheering and they're happy, and they've got, I graduated in, 2023, and they're having parties in backyards. And I'm like, wow, that's so cool. Look at these kids. They're getting ready to begin their life. They're getting more independent, or maybe they're going to be pushed out of the home. Maybe they're going to go to school. Maybe they're going to start a job, whatever. It doesn't matter, right? But they're free. They feel free for just that moment, that, wow, we did it. There was this sense of accomplishment, And anyway, it had me thinking about the witnesses. Yeah, how dysfunctional that organization is. I was thinking there's no graduation in the witnesses.
Yeah, same with Worldwide, which I was in the Worldwide Church of God.
Yeah. And so I got to thinking, I thought, what if your first grade teacher or your kindergarten teacher never wanted you to graduate? And she says, you can't graduate, this is it, that little world of saying like your ABCs, right? A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And there, and the teacher never wanted you to move past that. You think there's something wrong with the teacher.
Yes.
And you think there's something wrong, maybe with a kid. If you saw a kid that never grew up, he was 5 years old and he never got any taller. He didn't grow into 6 and 7 and 8, and his shoes get bigger. You'd think there was something wrong.
Mm-hmm. If he was stunted.
Yeah, like growth stunted.
Growth. Yeah.
And so I was thinking about that with the witnesses. I was thinking, man, those governing body never want you to graduate. Think about that. Those old stinkers. You'll never graduate us. In fact, not only will you not graduate, but we are going to hold a gun to your head. They call it a Bible, but they're like, we're going to hold the Bible to your head, and we're going to say you cannot leave because Jehovah says, if you leave, you will die. Think about that. They can never spread their wings. They can't think about school, really, about going to college, because that's using the world to the full. And I was just thinking, wow, yeah, Watchtower, I think, is probably a fifth grade ideology. You know what I mean? There's just a few things to remember, right? That God's name Jehovah, we're not a Trinity, we're not connected with all the churches, we're special, we don't celebrate Christmas. It's about a fifth grade ideology.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to thinking.
And then you're stunted.
And you're stunted. And you can't go anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
All the assemblies are like, you better not leave. You better not drift. You better not go. You better not. And what I know is this, that people were made to be free. People were made to fly. People were made to have individuality and be different from each other.
And that's the whole idea of our country, actually.
Yes.
It really is. And, God wants it. Well, absolutely. The Bible talks about that God wants that for us.
That's right. And here we are, people that are made in God's image. Jesus said you had gifts. He said, all of you have had gifts, or he did the illustration where he gave them all talents.
Right.
And then he left and he says, I'll be back.
But in Corinthians, it says that God gave all men gifts.
Yes.
And he spelled them out.
That's right. And so aside from that, like, do you remember when Jesus gave the talents and he came back? And then he asked him, what did you do with the talents? Well, the talents would be your gifts, the special things God's anointed you to do, like
or be,
you're going to be an artist, you're going to be a painter, you're going to be a whatever, right? Million things you could be, a computer guy, anything, windows cleaners, shopper market person,
a giver of love.
It could be anything patience. You want. And so Jesus came back and he asked him, what'd you do with yours? And the guy said, well, I invested it. I put it into this and I got tenfold or something. Another guy says, well, I invested it and I got more. And then he asked the other guy, what did you do with yours? And he says, I buried it. And what did Jesus call him? Foolish?
Yeah, that was what he called him.
Yeah,
foolish.
Because he buried his gifts. I'm waiting. This Watchtower is so out of touch. Jesus said we're to use our gifts, that you were given gifts by God to bring into this world now so that we could use the gifts. And I wonder, how many gifts has Watchtower shut down? how many people have they shut down with that, sort of pistol to the head? You better not do this. You better reach out to be a ministerial servant and pass out watchtowers and go pioneering and this and that, and miss all the talent that they had. Like, I didn't know I had a talent to paint. We discovered that. We talked about that in other videos. I didn't know I had that gift. And Angela's an author. She writes books.
We CD album.
Got a CD album. Great musician.
I'm just with my dad in Oregon just a few days ago, and the next door neighbor just really, really, really stressed heavily to everyone how important it was that my gift be used and not buried. In a way, I have been burying it because I've been too busy and another job that's not as showing who I really, really am, and I've neglected it. So I have got to get on the ball because, she expressed it like that is the thing that I am here to do and to give, and that my voice cannot and should not be hidden. And she's describing my voice. And I don't know, it touched me because I've got to really make sure that I don't waste it. And if that's what I'm here to give, and that's the main gift that God gave me, then I'm definitely, I need to not neglect it. And it's tempting because, I don't know, there's a lot of responsibility in trying to get music out into the world. And where do you go? Like, if you're not going to go to church, then you can't do it at church. And if you don't want to go to the bars, you can't do it there. And, it becomes a responsibility. So anyway, that's interesting.
So Angela does have this voice, angelic voice that can just melt your heart. It touches people's heart. And I've heard it. And I heard it when I first met her. She strummed little songs and she finally made an album. And it was an album that was controversy to what her mother wanted. It had some Christmas songs and other songs in it, which her mother normally wouldn't listen to. And she listened to it, I don't know how many times.
I know.
Because Angela's voice when she's singing is really amazing. So the point, we're talking about here is, we get to explore those gifts being out. And I was thinking, what is worse? The people on top, that are, holding the gun to their head, saying you better not ever leave Jehovah and leave this organization, or the people in that grade level, the people in the organization that never want to grow up. You know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, it can come to a point where you don't want to take responsibility for your life. And that's what it means sometimes when you grow up and you think about leaving. It's like when a kid that graduates school, right? Yeah, you want to get out on your own. You want to have your own apartment, your own car, but it comes with a ton of bills. You know what I mean? It comes with responsibility. I got to make this apartment payment. I got to make this car payment or insurance payment, whatever, gas, and all this kind of stuff. But somehow there's a certain joy and challenge, to getting out there and being free. And when you do, you feel good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, go ahead.
Well, just simply that, sometimes certain things that we have felt that was our job to do in this world, they say that you always switch from one career to one more, at least one more, and that every man is kind of like pretty well, most of the time, destined to have two careers. But a lot of people don't transition very well. They feel like they failed in that one that they have, God has shown them to release it, or it's just faded away, or it's just, you can't do that anymore, or however God causes it to be, that part of your life is now over, and now you're heading into a new aspect of your life. And that transition, people don't always make it. And again, that's just another purpose that you have. It's maybe your better, more important purpose. They're both your purpose, but there's one that's greater than the other. And usually that second one is like really the cream of who you really are. But that risking and that not feeling like you failed the first one, you can get stuck, stunted, same old stunting all over again. Because, or maybe it's just simply that you feel like that Armageddon's coming and the end of the world is coming and there's no point in it. And so you don't start. But don't forget, Jesus said that when Jesus comes back, we're to be found working, not waiting, not, taking our ease because it's over in a minute. It says that when I come back, I want to find you working. So we're to be using our gifts to the very end, to the very moment.
That's not passing out watchtowers, is it?
No, sir. It did not say that. So, yes, it can be discouraging sometimes, guys, and you don't want to go on. but we're challenged to go on. And Dan and I are in that transition right now. We've been wood finishing a long time. I've been doing a lot of other things, but we're now ready to let that go. And we've known that this is coming, but really the question is exactly how do we take the step to go to the next part? How's it going to look like? How's the money going to come? There's so many variables of unknowns, but God wants us to have the dreams, and he gives them to us. And so it's not our job to figure out the how, it's our job to believe that it's possible and call out to God, asking him to show us the way and point the way, show me where to step next. And if you're on hold, you're on hold, but you keep on asking in between and having faith that it will come. You will be guided. You are being guided. You just don't know it. Maybe you're in a waiting pattern because you need to learn patience, or there's some things that you need to work out in your kinks in your personality, or God only knows what, but we are to not stay stuck, to keep on believing and keep on asking and keep on knocking and keep on seeking and do and be all that God meant for us to do and be. Not like our church has taught us, which is that you're good for nothing slaves and what you're doing you ought to be doing, or that's the Jehovah's Witnesses, or that you're just sinners saved by grace, or the Christian church teaches that. And there's myriads of things, but it just, that is not it. That is not what's described in the Bible. That we're to be waiting and horrified, scared, fearful, thinking we're not going to be enough, and we've not made it, and we've not done enough good, we've not passed out enough watchtowers, we've not kept the holy days right, we've not kept the Sabbath right enough, we've not whatever. It's like, no,
Ever enough.
It's more like, what did I give? How did I serve? Did I serve well? Did I give well? Did I love well? That's the real bottom line. In using your gift, did I serve well? Did I give my all? Did I give my best? Did I give it my best shot? And I've had my ex-husband give up on life because he was the head of the Evergreen Conference Association of Realtors in Evergreen, Colorado. And when that was over, I don't know, he just lost his mojo. And then we went into fix and flip properties. And then we did good in the beginning, very good. But then he chose some properties that were really poor choices that I was not in agreement with. But it was like, now we're sunk. And so he just gave up on life. He just gave up, and he's never got his mojo back. My dad, he's kind of in the same kind of boat. He lost his business after being a printer. Then he went into had his own printing press business, and then it changed. It went to digital, so it's no longer the printing presses with plates and all these other ways of doing photo finishing. But it switched, and so suddenly my dad was out of business. And at that point, he just gave up on life. It's like, I'm done. I'm spent. I don't have it within me to do another, way of being in this world. He just gave up and became old. And so he's stuck. And it breaks my heart seeing so many Jehovah's Witnesses and worldwiders absolutely stuck. But I know who gets us out of the stuckness. It's God. I don't think we get ourselves out. In fact, I know we don't. We have to cry out. We have to surrender. We have to ask. We have to seek. We have to keep knocking. We have to keep trusting. But you don't stay stuck. And stuck means sitting around doing nothing in your chair all day long, watching TV, not really amounting to a hill of beans, but just being a bump on a log and just not living your purpose. And it's easy to do that. That's the easy way out, but that is not what God had in mind. We're to be, I believe, to be vibrant and alive and powerful and useful and more wise and more amazing and more faith-filled and more using God's gifts than we ever had, and more loving and more powerful. And I can say a lot more about the powerful, because Jesus said that, do not marvel at these things that I'm doing, for these and greater you will do. Dan and I have always marveled that says that in the Bible. And so we're like, Lord, what is going on that these and greater things you will do? What's wrong? Because in other countries, these and greater things are being done. We don't hear about them, but that's the real truth. That is what we're supposed to be doing. So what's wrong? What's stuck that we're not doing these things? When there should be a no water situation, like there was in the Bible with the 40 years in the wilderness, are we going to cry out to God and trust him for the water that was needed for those million strong people in the wilderness in the Bible, in the Old Testament? But instead, they cursed the whole moment, blamed Moses, yelled at him, treated him really badly. And that happened 2 times, same spot, Mount Meribah. no water was there, and they didn't trust God. And God was so upset about that because he'd been so faithful to them to supply every need throughout that journey in the wilderness, 40 years, and they still didn't get it. So, we have to trust God for our next move, whatever that next move is. And we're supposed to believe that if he said that these and greater things you will do, well, guess what was needed in the wilderness? They needed water. And sometimes food is needed. So we cry out to God, and Jesus cried out to God, and God provided that fish to be enough to feed the thousands, and the water, whatever's needed in the wilderness, thousands, millions actually being taken care of. Do we have that kind of willingness to cry out and say, God, we need some water here. God, we need a miracle, and believe him for it. That's what Jesus did. And that's what we're having to do. That's what we're going to be required to do here probably pretty shortly.
And see, and that's what's contrary to a lot of the churches. And, like when we were a witness, what was this world? For us, it was a wasteland. It was totally filled with demons. And all we were here for is to watch Jehovah destroy it. Right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's Christianity. A lot of Christianity is the same thing.
Yeah.
This world is garbage.
Mm-hmm.
You're garbage. You were redeemed, but you just do nothing. And you wait for the next life. And I think, wow, God would bring me into this world, bring you into this world, bring Angela in this world, and to say, oh, it's junk. Just do this right here, and the next world is going to be better.
Yeah, this is a godforsaken demon, demon place. And
God made it, but it's totally filled with demons, and but we got food here, we got water here, we got birds, we've got lots of beauty and nature and all these things. Now you can tune into that, or you can tune into it's full of demons on every corner, and we got to get out of here, and we can't wait for the paradise, and everyone needs to be genocided. That's the teachings. Yeah. And you know what kind of bugs me the most about Jehovah's Witnesses really is that this God of love, they say, all this stuff they do at the conventions. But why would a God of love need to put a gun to your head for you to serve him? Why would he say, if you don't serve me, I'm going to kill you. If you don't know my name, I'm going to kill you. That's what they say in the witnesses. If you don't know Jehovah's name, only those who call on the name of Jehovah will be saved. And so that's our message. Unless you know Jehovah, you can't pray to him. And so you don't pray to God. You don't know God. And only those who come into the organization and serve them and then put their whole life on hold and wait for the end to come are the only ones who are going to get life.
And it was funny because everybody's got their little take on that. I mean, in the Worldwide Church of God, it's that so long as, you're keeping the holy days and the Sabbath day, that's a sign of the covenant between God and his people, that you keep Saturday Sabbath, and it's got all these things about it, and if that's where you're to be found doing those things, when Jesus comes back, then you'll be in the kingdom. And so, and this whole thing about how the kingdom works. But anyway, and then the Christians believe, as long as you accept Jesus by faith and you say that special prayer, you accept Jesus in your heart, then you're saved. And it doesn't matter what you do from that point forward, you're going to be in heaven. A lot of people believe with harps and
nothing good here. Nothing good here.
On white clouds, which it doesn't say that in the Bible. That's what's going to be going on. And I don't believe, the minute I know that's not the truth. Anyway, I don't believe that's what we're going to be doing at all. No. I wouldn't want to go there anyway. If that's what we're going to be doing, I don't want to be up there with harps and praising all day, floating around in clouds. It does not sound like anything fun to me.
I'd last about a day.
Yeah, no, that's plain stupid.
It's
dumb.
But that's the beauty of coming out. Me and Angela have been out, over 20 years, right? You've been out over 20 years now.
More, yeah.
And we've realized we've taken what we've had, the gifts we've had, and we've built a life together. We built a business together. We finish wood. Angela plays music. We do lots of stuff. We read books. We write books. We do talks like this. We do a lot of different things. And we've done that even after the call. We realize that we don't need to get to the next life. We're here to serve in this life, not promote Watchtower or promote Christianity or whatever, but we're to promote love. We're supposed to love our neighbor as ourselves.
And to become as close to like Jesus as we possibly can.
Yes.
Which is patience and peace and kindness and goodness and self-control and long-suffering, and hardly notice when others do it wrong, and serving in every way you know to serve. That's what Jesus did.
It's like the
And
mind of
that's the
Christ in us.
example, you know.
That's right.
There's other examples, but that's one. That's for me the most powerful for me.
We're supposed to love just like God loves, unconditionally love our neighbor. We don't worry about what religion they are. We don't worry about what walk we are.
No.
And it's a beautiful way to live. And you actually can find a purpose for being here. You realize, wow, God didn't create this for nothing. You know, we get to overcome here. We get to find out what our talents are here and our gifts. We get to overcome challenges and all these different things. And that is a beautiful thing.
It is.
And so that is not nothing. And so that's what me and Angela had found when we come out. We had lots of challenges to writing books, challenges to this, challenges to that. And it's really cool. You know, writing a book is like a graduation, isn't it?
Yeah, it
It's
is.
like, wow, I did it, you know?
Because when Dan
And-
wrote his first book, Eyewitness, the shocking insider story of Jehovah's Witnesses, it was like, oh my gosh, he sweat blood practically in his bed at night, because it was such an intense story to have to tell. It's like having to remember these horrifying, you know, events that happened throughout his life and the horrors, and then how to write it and know that you're going to put it out there into the world. Extremely painful, but boy, have people benefited.
Yeah, I was
from
like, who's it
this
going to help?
story.
Who's it going to help? Throw it
That's what
away.
he said. He said that.
You know,
Just throw it away.
And it was the same. Angela wanted to do an album, and I said, well, do an album. Let's do an album. And she spent a lot of time down there at the album place and hired musicians and hired choirs for some of her songs, hired professionals. And it was wonderful. And it took, what did it take, about a year?
I know it took 2 years.
It took 2 years to make an album.
Yeah.
And when she was done, she had this beautiful, finely tuned album. I think it was called Inspirations of Christmas.
Yep.
And it was a celebration, and your soul soared, and lots of people got that. We gave lots away, and people are like, oh, you got a beautiful voice, this, that. So see, we're called to use those gifts. We're told to bring those gifts into this world now. You are the light of the world. I did not say that.
No.
Jesus said it. You are the light of the world. Take the mantle, take my mantle, you know, and come to life. Fan yourself into life. Find out what those gifts are and share them with the world. The world needs our gifts. They really do. And it's not like they need them or they're going to die like Watchtower, you know, to do what we say or else. It's, we're here to serve with them and to joyously give them. And then people go, wow, and they receive it, right? It's this giving and receiving.
Yeah.
And boy, if we all did that, if we all just sort of push religion aside and we just all gave and received, and I'll give you my gift and you give me your gift, and everybody did this, the world, we wouldn't have any problems today, you know?
No. But you know, it's easy to get into that victim mode, Dan.
Yeah.
And to get in that stuck place where we're stunted, like we talked about in the beginning, stunted. But you know, I know that this is not a topic that some people are going to accept, but maybe you could just take what you want and leave the rest out of this, what I'm going to say. But you know, I shared it before, and I shared it in my book too, but I ran across a bunch of stories, one being a face-to-face in a guy that came to speak in Lakewood, Colorado, who told Dan about his near-death experience, who was an atheist and a brain surgeon, neurosurgeon out of Harvard. And he had this death experience, and it changed everything. So, you know, I've come to understand that based on that story, and then a whole bunch more, Anita Morjani's story, that this is not really the only experience we're having, guys. We have many, many lifetimes. And that makes it a little bit easier, because when you say, but you don't understand, Dan, you know, Angela, I've been through this and this, and you don't understand. Now I'm incapable of blah, 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 you know, whatever, right? And do I think for a minute that gives you anyone an excuse to just quit? No, I don't think there's any reason to quit at all. And God doesn't want that for any of us, because I believe that he can fix anything. But the comforting thing to me is that when things seem really ridiculously unfair, when I realize that this is not my only life. So that problem, like for example, my children having nothing to do with me, and now my brothers and sisters, and now my parents, pretty much, you know, you think to yourself, why does this have to be? This should not be. That statement, I had to be rid of that statement. This should not be. That should not be. It's been 19 years I haven't had my children in my life, and it may never be in this life. But I come to realize that, and this is my opinion, okay, but I really do believe that this epic, this particular time that we're all in, these are the lessons that I feel that we're here to learn. That our parents and our children and our relatives, they're going to be those that are going to give us the hardest time. We're going to experience rejection. We're going to have to overcome it. We're going to have to overcome, what are some of the other things that I am always talking about it all the time. But overcoming rejection, religious division, political division, religious division. And we have to overcome these things. And so that's what I believe this epic, if you will, this go around is all about, overcoming those rejections and those divisions, and learn how to love everyone, regardless of their religion, regardless of their color, their race, where they live on this world, and to overcome the religious divisions and not have judgment, to love them anyway, unconditionally, and to overcome all of those things. When you're rejected, look, guys, I'm kind of seeing it that everyone is rejected in this world. And it's just what we're here to overcome in this particular experience. So we were rejected in Jehovah's Witnesses. I was rejected in worldwide. You guys have families who rejected you. I've had family who rejected me. Jesus had family who rejected him. He was religiously thrown away. He was crucified because they didn't like his take on things.
All the apostles.
Yeah, and all the 12 all died hung. Paul chose to be hung upside down, but they were all hung and martyred, every one of them. So guess what? Guess what? You are not special. I am not special. What happened to me is not special. Don't feel sorry for me. I'm here to overcome that. I have to rise above it. I have to say, you know what? You were here to teach me that. With my own mother, I have to say, wow, what a severe rejection and what a severe abuse. But whoa, you know what? My mom, I feel she agreed to do this for me. And so it's being done for me because I wanted to grow in this area, and it's for me and not against me. And so I believe that when I see her again one day, she's gonna say, boy, that was a tough one, because man, I kind of thought you'd figure it out by the time you were 45, but oh my gosh, you took all the way until you're 63 to figure this out. Whoa, you really wore me out, and we'll have a good laugh about it, and we'll study, what was learned and discuss it, and it'll be a really great rejoicing, because that's not who my real mom is. I know my real mom in my heart, I do, but she's having to play the role of being the big fat bee in my life and make my life about as miserable as she possibly can manage to do it. And she's doing a really, really good job. So I'll thank her for it, because I'm having to overcome and rise above it and love her anyway, and not curse her, and not feel that I'm woe is me and what a victim I am and how unfair this stupid, creepy world is and satanic world. No, I don't feel that way anymore, because I understand what I'm doing here on this earth. And so it's a whole different take. And if you study near-death experiences, it's interesting, because for 100 years people have had these experiences and no one will talk about them, because somehow they think it's woo-woo or demonic, or you're going crazy, you're mentally ill, and all of a sudden, you guys, I don't know if you've noticed, but out of the woodwork, everybody's coming out with these near-death experiences that happened to them when they were kids, and they didn't speak about it, and now they're coming out telling their stories and how it changed their lives.
Hundreds of thousands.
Everywhere. Why? Because we came here with forgetfulness. They caused us to not remember what we came here to do, and we have to figure it out. And because if we knew, then it wouldn't be the challenge, right? So we can't know. But because where we're at in this way things are right now, God is causing it to be that people are coming out with a story all over the place, explaining what happened to them when they met God, they met Jesus, they met and they went to heaven, they saw all their life pass before them on these screens. Everybody has a different story about how it was shown them, their life and all that they've done in their life. And
they're fun to watch.
And to realize where they could improve, and then they come back and then they tell, and then they have to adjust or not. You get to choose whether they're going to adjust or not.
Yeah.
Evan Alexander, the doctor.
Watch that one.
Evan Alexander. He's got a movie coming out. Evan Alexander, Dr. Evan Alexander. And there's a movie coming out.
Experience.
Yeah, and we saw him live tell the story, and it was fresh. It was fresh because he got divorced over it, because he didn't want to be a brain surgeon anymore. And crazy awesome story. And you know that it really happened because of what this goes on in the story.
Like Anita Morjani too, right?
Yes, that was amazing.
Another one.
Oh man, Anita Morjani, yeah, Dying to Be Me. She wrote that book.
Think about that. We're dying to be who we are. You know what I mean? All that's pushed down in the Jehovah's Witnesses, who I am, who this Dan is, who this spirit is in Dan. What did Dan come here to do? All that's crammed down. Well, this lady got stage 4 cancer all over her body, big holes and big gaps, and so she died and then went to heaven. And when she was up there, it's like, be yourself, be you. You came here to be you. And so she wrote a book called Dying to Be Me, and it's a life changer. You got to read it. Anita Morjani.
Yeah, there's some incredible stories out there, guys. And just put in near death, and you'll be convinced that there's a loving God out there, not the one we were raised to believe that God was. You'll see from these
That needs to
stories.
put us in a prison camp.
That's why it's so important to listen to these stories, because they had direct experience, whereas ours, we're reading these words and pages. These people had direct experience, and you can't argue with what they tell you because of the end result. Like Eben Alexander telling how that it ended up that woman who took him up into heaven ended up being his sister who had just died, and he was shocked when he found out later on after he came back and was healed. Then these pictures were sent of his sister who died. He never met her before because he'd been adopted, and then he gets the pictures back and he just falls over because it was his sister who kept saying this wonderful stuff to him. Because he was adopted, he felt really bad about all. She was trying to say some things about that, and it was just touching story. Because, and then not only that, but his brain was dead when he died, absolutely dead. All his brain surgeon friends said, "We got to pull the plug, guys. He's gone." And then he comes back to life and he heals quickly and remembers everybody and everything eventually. And the fact that he had been searching for his birth mother when he died, and all this stuff. I mean,
amazing.
You can't argue that this is real, because you don't come back from a brain dead brain. You just don't.
No, and come back.
So,
he was an atheist when he came back. He believed in God.
Yeah, close to an atheist anyway.
Yeah, close to
So,
an atheist.
yeah.
Yep.
So anyway, well, you guys, you know what I say? If you're stuck and you lost your mojo, it's simple. Guess what, guys? You just simply start telling God about it. And if you're mad at him, then tell him I'm mad at you, and tell him why you're mad at him, and we'll have it out. Dan had it out with God. We hit pillows. He screamed and yelled at God. I've done the same, and it didn't kill me. Dan did not burn, and his hand didn't burn off when he went into a church building, as he thought, and all kinds of things that we thought were going to happen to us. Facing the fear and going anyway. Tell God what you need to say to him. Ask for what you need, and you will receive it.
Right.
I don't have a doubt about it. You will.
That's right. And your eyes will be
listening.
open. You'll start seeing. You came here for a reason. You'll start seeing your gifts.
Yes.
I didn't know any of those things I would be. I just thought I was going to handle a microphone and read a watchtower.
Yeah.
And go door to door. I really did. I thought that was my gift. Come here and that was it. But boy, no, that's not the case, and it's not the case for you.
No. And when I met Dan, he's like, I'm an introvert. I'm like, well, he's certainly not an introvert now.
That's
right.
right.
He's an old shoe for so many people. But he was, and because of the Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yeah, everything was crammed down.
Yeah.
Packed inside.
But that's not what you want.
No. So guys, we just wanted to share that with you today. If you feel it's helped you, pass it on, share it with somebody else. And we love you guys. You guys are awesome.
Yes.
Appreciate all your comments. I'll always tell you that. We enjoy them.
Yes.
We get encouraged when you comment. We really do. We feel so good when we see comments, and I try to like and make a little comment back to each and every one of you. But thank you. We wish the best. We hope you find your gifts now that you're out of the box, now that you're out of the Watchtower prison, Jehovah's Witness prison. We don't need Watchtower and Jehovah to hold a gun to your head for you to worship them. It's free. God wants you to find those gifts and use them now, not 100 years from now, sit in a grave and wait to be resurrected. This is the gift. It says the gift of God is life. And so we've been given the gift, and it says we're to see good for our hard work.
Yes.
And
Eben Alexander said that he saw absolutely that we live many lives. And he said that it's very important that you understand to not waste any of the lives, because each and every one of them are very, very important. So I don't know why he didn't say why, but maybe in the movie he might, but he didn't say why that was. And so it's important that we don't just slough off on this life knowing that we're going to live another one. It's important that we do our level best. So do your level best. That's all. just do your level best, and that's good enough. And if you don't get it done in this life, you'll get it done in the next.
Right.
You'll come back and you'll keep working and right where you left off, pretty much, and you'll do it again and get these kinks worked out until we're like God, really.
That's right.
So anyway,
Okay.
you're
All
awesome.
right, guys.
You do
You're
this.
awesome. All right. Thank
You
you
do
so much
this.
for
You do
tuning
this.
in. All right. We'll
All
talk
right.
to you soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.